Hello everyone, and welcome to View from Love. I am your host, Allie Ray, and I'm thrilled to have you on this podcast journey of extraordinary love. Today's guest is truly a beautiful soul. He is kind, he is humble, and he has an open heart. Many people follow him on his multiple social media platforms for a daily dose of encouragement, hope, love, and I am so excited for you to get to meet him today. Joshua Collins, welcome to View from Love. What an honor and pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for being.
Shelly, thank you so much. It is such a gift to be here with you and to whoever listens to this, blessings and love to you. That's the message. That's the message for sure. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to actually get to spend this time with you. If you wouldn't mind just letting our audience know a little bit about your background and what has inspired you on your journey to be such an inspiration for others.
Um, it started out when I was a child. I was the first church baby. When I was a child, I was the kid in the back, always singing the songs real loud. And my my mom and dad were very devoted to God. They were like a Seventh Day Adventist, and so I really just had my grandparents really had a love for God, and I, as a child, felt that God wasn't something outside of myself. I felt like I had this deep connection, like it was something part of me. It was a very personal experience. And as a child, my parents had gotten divorced, and my dad, he was and still is extremely devotional. His heart was just so big. I would always see him praying all the time. He would always do acts of faith. If like we were about to run out of gas, he would be like, just pray, just have faith. And, and so I went through a lot of challenges in my life, just like everyone else here. And I, my heart, um, through a lot of those challenges, just kept moving forward towards loving myself and others. It was, I've overcome a extreme, my dad kidnapped me, my mom, she battled alcoholism. There was a lot of different challenges. At one point, I tried to kill myself whenever I went through a whole awakening process. I didn't have the structure or support through this awakening process um, to understand what was happening. And between, like a lot of the programming and how we're born into this 3D reality and stuff that I experienced, a lot of traumas and stuff like that. I didn't know how to integrate or move through some of these traumas, these triggers and such, etc. Um,
Joshua, if I might ask, about how old were you when this happened, this awakening?
um, Whenever I was 19,
Mhm.
I have personally have a dear friend of mine and brother that I had an experience. He's a few years older than me, him and his wife, his brother. And basically, it was having this awakening. He was living in a tent, and he went to school with me. And he, I was like, well, how do I know you? He was teaching me martial arts. His martial arts is very untraditional. It's more of moving frequencies into movements to basically touch all the different vibrational frequencies that are out there through these different styles. And so I just had this like feeling like I knew this person. I just could not figure out like what was going on. Like I was like, who are you? And he looked me in the eye and he's like, you know who I am. And I had this experience where it was like I had all these lives with him and like this interaction with this group of people and like and so it was he would
And this
tell
is incredible. So you're 19 years old.
yeah
And
I'm
are you going, you're going to regular school and
yeah
yeah. And you're
yeah
having these experiences
yes
and levels and levels and levels of remembrance are
yes
happening.
yes and he remembers he was like he was like an open book where he came and he like knew all this stuff about me. So I was like, I don't even know that stuff about me or like stuff like that. And so it was really um
Catalytic, catalytic.
very very catalytic. And I think that was his whole process. He's like, I am awake, um I'm here to help you remember who you are, and help you on your journey and stuff like that. And obviously there was a lot of trial and error and the ego and not understanding. I mean, this is back in 1999. It was a lot of the resources and a lot of the awakenings and stuff. I just was just a kid going to school and playing some music, and I had a big heart, and I did have a very big background with my father and a son with spirit, but I felt more of like an encompassing feeling of everyone instead of just the religion of feeling like that. And he had really brought that to it, like that all threads lead to the same tapestry and to the same river. And so um it was a lot. And it um part of my journey is to being able to keep my heart open and being centered within myself and how I am and how I feel and my mission here, as well as letting others fulfill theirs in their moment, and to have that balancing act between the two of where they're at and where I'm at. And because when you have a big heart and you don't know what's going on, and you can take things personally, you're like, oh man, that hurt and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't know why. And then you have these traumas that you incur. And so my message really to people through my life and the purpose that I'm here for is to help people to get more in touch with their hearts and to their will and to their center, um, and then ultimately their purpose, and to have the strength to live authentically and express themselves in a manner that is truly from source, that allow that source to come through them regardless of the challenging the programs, no matter how many times they failed, how many times they you know um, have cried, or feel like that they wanted to give up hope, to not give up hope. um, that you were
Well,
pow-
well, you're doing an incredible job with that because I have very much been touched by so much that you share, and you are a living example of that balance too. And I would love for you to share the types of things that you do that help you stay in balance.
will do. So a couple of years ago, my life was really unbalanced in a sense. I had gone through a divorce, and I had really it was a shedding of everything, and I really had put my life. I don't know. This is this is this is very deep to me, and so I just fully gave myself over to Source. Um, I I I believe I pray, but I also and meditate. And I do feel a very distinct difference between the two. Both are very beneficial to me. But so I really had just surrendered completely, had given my life to Source, and let all the programming, all the thoughts, everything, and really taken everything and allowed all that stuff onto the table, or would like to say, or given it to source to be alchemized, um, to realize that my the ego aspect of myself, the personality, the small self, those aspects of ourselves or whatever that are within the thinking mind, were not going to allow me to fulfill the person that I came here to be and what source had come here to be. And so I started waking up early, and I do this repeatedly. I wake up early, I meditate, I pray. I pray for others. I feel like it's very important, as well as yourself, obviously, to pray for others. I've had such a huge um, impact in my life by praying for others and keeping others in your mind and your heart, to remind ourselves that we are all in this together, and that these reflections of source are here to help you. Um, and so I do that. And then I do a very rigorous exercise program. I do a lot of training myself through a bike, stationary bike. I do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, a variety of different tasks. So when I go into that thing, it's more of a moving meditation, where for someone in my stature of that has a mind that just wants to go, sometimes I've been able to move past the mind by focusing and centering myself through exercise, as well as realizing like the true possibility of what's possible out there. Like when you give yourself to source and you're like, anything's possible. So I was able to start doing thousands of push-ups, thousands of sit-ups, and the mind and the body would be like, no, no. And I was able to start integrating my body, soul into a thing like, no, these things are possible. And so it's through meditations and and affirmations too. So I'm really big into right now the warrior, magician, lover, and king aspects. It's been out there. These two guys wrote a book about it. I can't remember their names right now, but they also wrote a book called Kingdom Within. And so there's these different aspects of yourself, your lover, your magician, and your warrior. And then ultimately the king is the balancer. And the king is, to, from what I've seen and which sources showed me, is that I have allowed my vessel to allow source to move through this vessel in a balancing way to do these different aspects of myself. So, the magician writes the affirmations down, like I'm a conduit for source. I am a huge, and I do not want to understate this because this is extremely important, that I like to give full acknowledgement to my guides, the Melchizedek and Paul Selig and his teachings. I am very connected with those guides. I have a deep connection, and they are a huge part of clearing the mind to give my logical side the aspect of what I'm doing, and to move past some of those patterns and things. So I listen to the guides every day. I listen to the books. They help align me to those things that are important through source. And you know
Yes,
that's
I would like to honor that too, actually, Paul Selig and his work with the guides. For those who are listening who may not be familiar, incredible work. I Am the Word, I Am the Truth. There's so many books. If you look up Paul Selig, and I will add his link down here in the comments here with Joshua's, the resonance, the frequency that comes through in those books is truly undeniable. Truly, truly. It's very, very profound heart resonance. And so, yes, Joshua, I definitely agree and honor that as well. Powerful, powerful work. And you, even just expressing what you are here is showing really the embodiment of that. and moving into the higher octaves and really making, everything is anew, when it's seen from the higher octave through the eyes of source, um, through us embodying that. It's, it's a different world. It really truly is a different world. And yes, I just so honor you and all the work that you have done and continue to do, because you do radiate this energy. And it can be received in places where people may not, know of the books or resonate with those things. That's the other beauty, I believe, about all of this, is that we're all fractals of God, of Source, and there are those that receive the frequencies and energies uniquely through us, that may or may not from those that we received it from. And so it's just this beautiful giving, this beautiful giving and being and becoming that just expands and expands all over the world. And it's just profound. It's profound, and it's profound love that's felt. And you can't help but be in that deep state of peace and gratitude, and even just the smallest acknowledgement of it. So, yeah, so this is incredible about integrating your physical body with, so it's physical, emotional, mental, and your soulful presence, and you're working in tandem with all of these things with intent every day. And Joshua, if, I really want to honor you here too as a brother, and you're here as a man, and that is a unique journey, and it's definitely unique from being a woman. And I feel that more and more we're recognizing that through the male, the more pure masculine, the more pure divine masculine, there is such a tenderness and a nurturing and a service energy there to love and support and give. And I'm seeing more and more men stepping into that nature, even in the face of a world that has been completely polarized the opposite. The conditioning, the programming, the training really wasn't supporting men from that place. And so it's really people like you that are embodying that balance of beauty, right, of strength and vulnerability, that I think are changing the world and really changing our perspective of what it means to be, a man. It's just so beautiful. I really can't say enough about your open heart and the resonance that you emanate. And I know that it's because you've been willing to face everything, and going back to, as you said, having your awakening, and then you briefly pointed to having kind of a dark night, right? I mean, you were, having issues whether or not you were going to make it through. You spoke a little bit about feeling suicidal, which is something that so many of us experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. If you would talk about a little bit about that aspect of how you came to receiving your information, going through the depths of that pain and that suffering, and then what was it that helped you turn that around?
Ultimately, it's just my heart. It's my heart. It's the heart space. It's my deep love for spirit and for what I consider family. Everyone is my family. I realized that I was playing very small. I had gone through some unworthy issues, through maybe how some people had spoke to me as a child, whatever the reasoning. But I felt wounded. I had to realize that I had to heal myself, and that I was not serving spirit, myself, or others by not truly embodying my heart space and what source wanted to come through me. And um, the things that source said that it wants to come through and do with me, like I have no desire for um, anything really but love, you know?
Mm.
And so, source is like, well, that's the whole reason I'm asking you to do this stuff, is that you've put in the work in many lifetimes, and um, people need to hear your story. They need to know that it's possible for them. They need to know and be encouraged through not what anything you're going to say, but through your vibration, through your heart, through your connection. It's something that I radiate through me because of my deep love for everyone and for myself and source. And so, um, when your heart is, when you feel your heart, the depth of your heart, it's weird. It's like this huge abyss of love. And I realized that I was going to have to put my will into action to meet the depthness of my heart. Um, and that if I really wanted to reach my full potential and to help others and to be a reflection of really source energy moving from the sacred to the profane, that I was going to have to give everything. I'm willing to give it all, every bit of it. Um, and that sounds scary to some people. I
Gosh,
understand.
I feel like this is such a blessed visit because I resonate precisely with this because that's exactly what it was for me. And that's exactly what I've shared about my own experience, which is that there is no giving a little. It really truly is everything. And when you really do meet the truth of your heart, it's easy. It only isn't easy on the journey to that place, but I remember precisely the moment of feeling the love of Source. And even though it felt as though everything was on fire, everything was aflame, I ran toward it with everything that I was, everything I knew myself to be. And I just gave everything, absolutely everything. And I would watch in my human day-to-day life, things changed and things altered, and definitely things left, things vanished. And there were, circumstances where I knew I felt called to be moved. I've been moved around the planet, placed different places to live, different things, to be of service in different ways that I never would have thought. Just a willingness to be truly in service and to give everything. And that's every thought, every feeling, every preference, everything, everything, everything.
It's true.
And really, as you know well, it isn't easy for a lot of our human aspects as we first go down this path, right?
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but truly, the deeper we go, and the deeper and the more that we honor and be, it just kind of, I say it becomes effortless. It becomes effortless to be the peace, to be the love, because it actually is happening through us naturally, just like nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally happening through us and as us. And as we do the work, to keep our mind at ease, right? And eventually, I really did find that my mind just aligned itself in service. I can do all the tasks and all of the things that the mind is necessary for, but I don't lead from that. It's just there to support what is coming through my heart, what I'm called to be and do. And it changes all the time. So it's again this fluidity and flexibility. And as we can see, the world is changing. Anyone who's trying to hold on tightly to old ideas and paradigms, you're going to get really whacked. I use the analogy about, the surfboard. Our heart is the surfboard for our soul as we're out here riding these waves of evolutionary change. And the more that we get used to just centering in our heart and that faith, we're on the board. We're going for the ride of a lifetime with Source in this really incredible evolutionary time. And I'm just so honored and blessed to have you here sharing this, because I really do feel that more and more people will be inspired to know that it is possible. It's possible to give everything. Because I think what it is too is that people think that if you say you're giving everything, that equates to some giant loss, and then there's nothing there.
Exactly.
And what would you say to them? What's there in the nothingness, Joshua?
I love this question because you start actually getting really excited. For me, it's an excitement because um, as you walk into the unknown, it's not something that is known. It's not from the mind, it's from the heart. It's you walk naked out into the unknown. And when you do that, Source catches you and you just realize really the greatness, the full potential that's within you, that your inheritance. And I know through Paul Selig, uh, as you know, I speak very deeply, as you know, because I talk about the king, the warrior, the magician, that inner kingdom within yourself, and it's to have Source come in within you, and then you align to the known instead of your thoughts, but into through your heart, through the channel of your heart, and you just say, I renounce anything, consciously or unconsciously, that's denying Source and how it wants to express in my life. It's just the magic starts happening in your life. It just starts unfolding. And there's, it's, um, and that's really like when you hear that you start hearing the saints, and it doesn't matter. I just grew up and with a lot of Christian, things here, with God, all things are possible.
Yeah.
Or and realize you're saying all the same thing. It's like it really everything is possible. That doesn't mean your ego is like it's going to happen. Like that is when you give like from your being, you let the highest potential move through you in this moment, present being thing. So like instead of you going your little mind trying to go around and going, well, how can I help best? And your heart's like, I really want to help best, like I really want to do the best thing I can do. Well, then open yourself up to the unknown and just surrender and go, Source, move through me in this moment, and you will be amazed what the things start happening as you start to clear that channel and you start to release control and you come from that authentic place and that being. It's such a weird dichotomy of uh, creating an environment for surrender to happen. It's interesting, like
Yes. No, yes. And for me, I've gone into the state of realizing that it was an emptying. It was literally the allowing of myself to be emptied. And that in itself is a process, to be emptied of all of your conditioning and programs and all of that. So you
yes,
create this space And it's the space within you that source and this love and this light can flow in and fill that and then be moved into action through us. So, the meditation, the martial arts, the exercise, the praying, all of that is creating more and more space for then source to come in and fill, and then you are inspired in spirit from within, and you're moved direct, like it's like you said, it's like so incredible, isn't it? Like, you may truly think that you have to go and create some big nonprofit organization or some huge, you might have these ideas or visions, right, of these big
Yeah.
big things, and so many of us do. And yet what is so gloriously beautiful is what we can be now, in this moment, how we can be one, one with all that is an expression of the highest love in this moment, on this street corner, doing our simple, regular thing, right? Really, it's actually, it's like in the ordinary is the extraordinary. It really is. And it's just really about us opening up. Like I said, really clearing that space, because it's incredible as you say, as you share, and it is the word. It really does represent it, doesn't it? The kingdom is here. It's alive within us. We don't have to go and create all these big things, even though there will be many beautiful things for humanity, and many of us will be co-creators of glorious things on the earth. I mean, that's just undeniable. It's in too many hearts for it not to be.
That's right.
However, it really is about us being here, being it now, in our moment, being as present and being as filled with source and love and residing in the kingdom now. And the
True.
next moment and the next moment, right? The ever unfolding now,
It's
and
true.
living in that state of timelessness. You know? And yeah, Joshua, I'm so happy to have you here today, as I said, because you are such an inspiration to so many. And just to hear more about you and how you cultivate your beingness and that relationship with Source, I find that's incredibly valuable for people to understand. Because it's one thing for us to look at things or read things and be inspired, but it truly is another to really get to know the human journey into that space. You know?
Very true. And the feeling is too is that just came to me is that there's other people around you that might feel like, well, and this is when I want to talk a little bit about expectations, shoulds, judgments, etc. They're not going to understand always your journey and what source is calling you to do. And that's okay. You have to like have this discernment within your heart to understand that not everyone's going to understand your journey. It's a unique journey just to you. And um, that you have to listen to that inner knowing. It's a knowing. It's not a thinking. Move ring closed. It's within you. It's a knowing within your heart. And that was huge for me to realize it come from a place of knowing. If you sit still, you will feel the answer. And as Paul Selig says in one of his books, The Guides, one of my favorite questions to ask yourself that is I do all the time on I Ching that's been very beneficial to me is how may I know myself in this moment so that I may know all things? And that has helped me very tremendously to regauge yourself. So if you're off balance or you're out of sync or you're not centered within yourself, because your center is everything, because that's where source is moving through you. So if someone gets you off center, that's fine. Just move back, because it's a little ebb and flow back into that moving place within yourself of you're getting a little out of balance, back into balance. And you start to see the stance of life.
Mm-hmm.
And um, when you do that, you realize that, like when someone might, you have to see every failure, every challenging situation with someone is an opportunity to further shed a layer of density in your ascension journey back into source. So, oh, that triggered me. Great. What can I learn from this experience? Thank you. Really. And like you can really be grateful and be forgiving to that other person and forgiving to yourself for you making a mistake, or that you're not where you need to be, or you don't feel it and you see the vision, but you're so far. It's just one step at a time, that consistency, that it might not look like you're, yeah, you have the image like you had said about the nonprofit or whatever, but the extraordinary in the moment, to bring source into the moment and to truly feel it and an embodiment, you are doing the work. You are powerful. It's like this, it's don't worry about what's outside of yourself. In a sense, when you cultivate within, that and manifest outside of you through that feeling, through that deep connected feeling within yourself. And to get into that feeling, that's where it is. You got to get into the feeling. So when you're in a challenge, for me, I put myself in extreme challenging situations, and to slowly, to be able to get out of balance, but to learn to teach myself to be within balance within challenging situations. So if there was whatever happens around me, I want to be able to be fully connected and aligned to source, to bring and to hear that music within me. Then like, hey everyone, it's gonna be okay. Just listen within, and like, because as more as us do that, like, oh, this happened and that happened, and the world we're living in, and as the paradigm falters, to keep that channel and that song going, regardless of what's happening externally, is the work that I came here to do. I had put in the work in many lives, and this is, I was like, I had this breakthrough moment where, it was very, felt like my whole kingdom was disarray. My children, my ex-wife, it was COVID, etc. And I just, I knew my heart, and I heard, I guess, like, why is this all being put on me? Like, I just, this has just felt so crushing. And from the depth of my soul, I heard source say, because you can bear it, Joshua. You know, you've been here, you've done this, and people need to know and need to see your light to know that they can too. And so as, and in that moment, I knew that anything was possible. And that if I was aligned to source and I gave every bit of it, that I would die from this reality happy, because I gave it all. Not like, oh, I'm doing it good, and you listen to your mind, and your mind's like, oh, you've done enough. And like, did you do enough? Because your heart will know. Your heart will know. It will, and you'll feel it too. It's energetically like, oh, like something's not right there. I could have done better. Like something's, and in that moment when you knew you could do better, then you have to then go to another aspect of yourself of like, it's okay. Be gentle with yourself. But next time, do it. So it's like, it's this balancing act of feeling that stuff and realizing like, to get more into your center and your zone and what you came to be. Um, so
Yes. Yes. And that's so beautiful, Joshua. And so every day, what is a day in the life of Joshua? What does a day look like?
so wake up, get my, just bio breaks done, stuff taken care of, and then it's hit the meditation or hit the prayer. You'll source too. You have to learn to be adaptive. If you're not adaptive in your rituals, your routines, then it's just ritual. It's not connected. It has to feel connected. So I did a lot of ritual stuff. It was getting ritual, and I was like, why am I not feeling source with me? Source is like, because I'm calling you to rebalance. I have other things that I need you. you need to rebalance and just trust it's going to be
Mm.
okay. You've gotten to a point where it's okay. So right now I'm meditating or I'm praying, and I will feel prayers like it will be a heartfelt prayer, and I will have people literally come to me and that I need to pray for. And it's really just giving it all to source. As soon as I wake up,
Mm.
the program Windows in your mind starts waking up, and it starts wants to think and all these things that wants to happen, and you're like, I'm going in. I'm going into code here. This is where I'm starting, and like it, you have to have a foundation. For me, from what I've learned, to it's like you gotta have a boot disk to get past the operating system of this stuff to
Josh, I'm so happy you're saying this because I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that is exactly true. Like literally, you open your eyes and you're like, okay. And immediately what I do is go, I take a nice deep breath, I put my hands on my heart and I close my eyes. It's like, okay. It's like, okay, I'm here. Okay, now I'm gonna be here. And then when I know that my breathing and I'm really deep in my heart, I open my eyes and I take that slow unfolding of my day.
Love
Yeah,
it.
and so I love to hear you say that because it is so true. It's like it sounds so funny because it's so opposite of our programming, right? Your eyes open and the first thing you do is put your hands on your heart and close your eyes again. But yes, because
Yeah.
just for us to really acknowledge, really in our first moment of the day, right, is what's going on inside my heart. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's what matters. The first thing is like what's going on in here. It's not what's going on out there. It's really like, okay, I am conscious, I am present, I am here, and what is going on in my heart? And what is my heart telling me? What messages do source have for me here? Woo! Yeah, so that's beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. I celebrate that. I love hearing this. And you're so right about the being adaptive and stuff, and like really understanding that there are so many tools for us and they can serve us, but we can't get stuck in them because then it's just replacing one paradigm with another paradigm. Even if it's so-called spiritual, I have to say that to people. It's like, no, no, no. Eating an ice cream cone connected to source can be the most spiritual experience. You don't need all the stuff. You don't need the rituals, and you don't need all of the just the contextualization of everything. Life itself, right? The breath of life is God breathing you. God is beating our heart, God is breathing us, and we are on this fantastic, amazing experience of being able to be one and to be of service to this great love. And what could be better than that? I mean, like, that's why we're really here. And so it's really just the unwinding, right? As you say, like the unwinding and the becoming adaptive, right? Learning from our tools and then moving on, really knowing that we're being taught from within. Everything that we need to learn and to know for our individual journey, that wisdom is inside of us. It is. And so it's like returning there each day, each moment. Okay, what's the heart saying? Yeah, it's so beautiful, Josh. I just love hearing you share about this.
You
It's so
truly are my soul sister. Like I literally saw us outside of this life. Um, um, so yeah, you were just speaking to it. So I'm so grateful. That's where I am right now, is like to connecting with people like yourself. Like we've never met each other, we've never talked before, but here we are.
yeah,
How did that happen? Here we are. How did that happen?
yeah,
And and I keep hearing source wanting me to say this is, and this is something that's come through me, is source is moving, and it's alive, it's existing, and it moves through you. The thinking and the ego stuff, it's that does is like to crystallize on the light of source within you. So it's like it wants to make sense of the expression, and it might be uniquely through you or your personality or whatever. But if you let that flow, if you just let that shadow follow you instead of trying to go back and to kind of uh, crystallize, like you were talking about with like, like, oh, this is my ritual or this is this, you you get to be free. Be
yeah.
free.
Oh my
Be
gosh. Joshua, be free, be free. I mean, I love this. And thank you for bringing this up because I think people need to hear this too, which is there is no gain in fighting or in a being in a constant state of processing the ego, right? The
Yeah,
moment that you start kind of trying to manage it or go against it or anything, it just grows and it literally consumes all of the present moment and all of your focus. And in fact, it is what you say, like if you allow it to be, it will naturally get into that flow and then it will present itself the way that it's truly intended, right? You, as the expression of you, all the things that make you unique, right? All the way that you express your creativity, your talents, your inspirations, all of your expressions. Bless the ego, bless that aspect,
yeah,
right? Bless the mind. Like it's serving source as you.
yes,
And it really is for us, as you say, to like get out of the way of that, like that battle or that interpretation that we have to tend to it or do something or
it's true.
because because when we just put our focus into our heart and we're doing that dance and aligning with source, that naturally starts to fit into its own proper place.
Exactly. Exactly. All the instruments are playing in one harmony. So that's why the thinking is like it starts crystallizing where it's like the true expression of you want to be able to express yourself authentically, just let source move through you and you there you go. Because you're talking about like the two like the lower densities of separation is a polarity. So it's like you could always like have a debate between oh this and this, but as you lift you start to see them move as one. It's a knowing, so they're together, they're in oneness. But if you're focusing on like oh you're right or you're wrong or this or that or all those judgments, ideas, expectations, there's not that unfolding living um flow of source moving through you.
Mhm.
And it so when you just get out of the way like you say and you allow that, so my like I have a hard time um sometimes getting people to understand like how my mentor taught me martial arts. So he didn't taught me styles like da da da, like there's techniques to learn to do things. So what he was teaching me was to literally embody and allow myself to be a channel for source and to let these different um, frequencies and emotions to express themselves. And as over time, people would take maybe some of these like expressions, like if you look in Kung Fu Panda, the turtle would be like, what he was doing was just being himself. Right. And then they were
Yeah.
like, oh no, we got to turn it into these crystallizations of like styles. And it's like, this and that. I'm like, true, when you're truly aligned, of course, and with martial arts for me, it's like there is no enemy. So there can
Yeah.
never be an enemy.
Yes.
And so what you're doing is just dancing in a
Yes.
sense.
Mm.
And you're allowing the true expression of source to move through you. So when I'm about my backyard, I am just an instrument to allow, like that bird could be talking to me and expressing something to me, and I'm just part of the symphony between the ground, the trees, everything that it's moving through me. And I'm able to embody and let that move through me and then let it express. And so I tap into those deeper expressions of source move through me. And it's just this symphony is just moving through me. And I don't try to define it. I
Mm.
want it to move freely. And I want everyone to have that opportunity to truly be free and to feel that connection within themselves and everyone else. When you let go of judgment, you'll feel and like you'll feel maybe their judgments, their things like that. And to be able, like that's really what the martial arts for me is, to be able to alchemize that and be like, oh, let me turn you back into the beautiful divine person that you are, and to see you truly in the divinity that you are. And to be able to do that in a loving and kind manner that is truly authentic and honors them and their presence because they have a right to be here. their presence is whoever you come across, their source, and they have something to teach you, even though if they don't know it. So, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Oh, my heart, my heart. Oh, I just love too that you mentioned the dance because that's something that I speak on is that when we move it away from, fighting and conflict and we understand that this is a dance. I say we're doing the divine waltz. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And it's going in its own way. But there is purpose and there is rhythm and beauty and it is a symphony, as you say, and everyone is playing their part. They truly, truly are. And I also speak to people who then question whether or not, well, I'm in an abusive situation, that kind of thing. And I say, well, it's important to look at the truth of what's going on in your heart and to be brave, to listen to what your heart says and to know what to do, to follow your heart because your heart knows and you can still bless everything, though you don't have to necessarily stay within, conditions and things like that. Because some people, they have such sweet, tender hearts and they think that, they have to stay. And I think it's important too that all these loving hearts know that there is a loving no. There's love
Yes.
in being empowered and saying no also. We don't have to allow things that don't feel resonant with us into our lives. We don't have to invite the darkness so that we can stand there in our light. We don't have to do that. you know um, and so really allowing ourselves to resonate from this purity of heart, we magnetize others that are in that same resonance, and then we dance together. We do this beautiful co-creative dance, and I think truly it's from this heart space that the new is being born. It's being born through us, as us. And some people have asked, well, where is this new earth and how are we going to change? All these systems are so horrible and corrupt. And I say, look, if you need to go to the bank today and within your heart you say, I am one with source and I am going to meet with God today, right at the bank. Like if you just change your perspective of what exactly is happening in your reality, you are changing reality. It's quantum. You're changing it for everyone. If you are engaging with any of the old structures and systems as love, from the inside, the system has no choice but to change.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm seeing so
One
many of
second.
us do this.
Give me
Yeah.
1 second,
Yeah, yeah,
Ellie.
yeah, yeah. It's wonderful to have you here and to get to know you a little bit better because, I have experienced you through your social media platforms, and I felt such a deep connection to you and really can just feel the resonance of the love that you are and truly your commitment to living as love and living as one with source. And the intention of this podcast for me was really to share with the world the beautiful souls who are experiencing life with the view from love, living through their heart. And you are absolutely a beautiful example of that, Joshua. And I'm just so honored that you were here today and shared so much of your heart and your beauty and the light of source that you are with us.
Well, thank you, Ellie. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate your heart and all that you share. And ultimately, yeah, I want all my messages to be that, be that just that clear channel for source. I just um to be a service and to be open to that and wherever that takes me and wherever I go. And it's often, our minds and our small self is like, oh, that's that it gets us outside that comfort zone of what's normal or what we're used to. But that's part of the journey, and the exciting part is um, I get so my what I get so excited about is to like to talk to people like yourself, or to see people that are growing, or to see their progress, and just to be able to say like, look, you know, I see you, and in your divine state and who you are, and I can't wait for you to meet you like on your deepest level possible. And whenever I start connecting and with all these different people, it's like we're all in this together, and we're like making, like uh just this collective dream. And the more that we all just start surrendering and allowing our true authentic self of, with source moving through us, like we're, like you said, we are literally changing this world. That's how we're doing it. That's how we do it. And it happens in the most amazing ways. And the more that we allow our minds to be free and to be still and to be empty, and you'll just, the potentials just start happening. Like you start like, well, how's this going to happen? Like, well, you don't have to worry about the how. A lot of times what you need to do is
Mm.
just align inside yourself and go, it's possible. And I am being guided, and I surrender, and it's, what's supposed to happen will. And just to take that leap of faith. And that's
Yes,
what that.
that's it. That's absolutely it. And Josh, thank you so much for sharing you, your heart, your beautiful presence, and everything that you shared. You are truly, truly an inspiration. I hope all of you will go and check in the comments here for all of the links so you can get to know Joshua Collins and stay connected with him for your daily dose of inspiration and hope and reminders of great love. And Josh, I look so forward to having you back. Thank you so much for being with us today. I so love you. Thank
Love
you
you.
so much.
Blessings.
Blessings.